you're looking for a little bit of help now and again from the universe, want some light entertainment, or a little nugget to meditate on, Cat the Minion Energy Works Card of the Day Picture Edition posts release every morning at 4 o'clock a.m. East Coast USA time. That's GMT -4 during Eastern Daylight Time, i.e. summer, and GMT -5 during Eastern Standard Time, i.e. winter. My link tree, linktr.ee/cattheminion, gives you easy access to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, email, and YouTube. You can watch the video version archive of Card of the Day in the Card of the Day archive playlist on Cat the Minion YouTube channel, and see examples of personal tarot offered in the Readings for Sale sample playlist. Contact me, see the link tree, to order a personal reading if you'd like a deeper review or shifted perspective. The PDF of available spreads and add-ons is free to download in my link tree. Thanks for tuning in with me. The video you came here to watch starts now. Welcome to Cat the Minion YouTube channel. My name is Teresa, but you can call me Cat. This energy report is a little bit about triangle, I guess we'll call it technology. So we have our triangle, and we have, oops, that's supposed to connect. We have the thong. That's going to be a little bit off. It's so perfect in my mind. And we have the Dorito 3D. When we look at these, what we see is we have an in-breath filling up the lungs, making them bigger. We have an out-breath squeezing the lungs and making them smaller. And then we have a midpoint, sort of an equilibrium. We also know that masculine energy typically has straight lines, and feminine energy is curved. So we have a feminine energy here, and we have a feminine energy here in polarity. Negative decreasing, positive increasing. Okay. So this represents the tomb aspect of the feminine, the death cycle. The menstrual cycle, the new moon. This represents the womb cycle of the feminine, the pregnancy, the full moon. Right? So if these are my straight lines, this would be structure. A little bit better than my crappy handwriting. Now, even though this is a positive, what we have is a void. It's sort of like a black hole. It's full of everything. But in this case, we're representing void. And here we have a duality, because we have something that's full, and then we have something that's empty. We come over here, what we have is a star, which represents expansion. But how could it be decreasing and expanding at the same time? But this is something that happens in our universe. Everything is connected. We're not going to worry about that. We see that this represents both things, and this represents both things as well. Because the thing is, when something compresses all the way, in order to do anything at that point, it has to start expanding. When something is full, it can't go anywhere. It has to void, right? My bladder is full. I have to void in order to maintain stability. So we have void and fullness and like death and expansion at the same time. There's a duality. And then we have structure in the middle, the framework in which this is happening. All right? Because at some point, the structure of the triangle, while it's breathing in and out constantly in flux, will hit this point. It's kind of like if you took a triangular wire and some bubble stuff, and you were to make a triangular bubble, what would happen is that as soon as you blow on it, it's going to take on a round shape. That looks dirty. Anyway, when we see structure, what happens is we take and we make the basis for all shapes in the universe. Okay? This is just a flat representation of the Merkaba. Alright? We're not worried about religion or anything like that. It's a geometric pattern that appears in nature. It's the strongest thing you can get, two tetrahedrons linked together. Now, if we were to say, okay, well, this is the masculine, what does the feminine form look like? And the feminine form would be a circle. If you take the two interlocking tetrahedrons, the Merkaba, and spin it, you will get a sphere, and that's where we basically get our circle that we're starting with. And to achieve the same pattern, it takes a little bit longer with the circles. So now I have my Vesica Pisces. And now I have the first sort of recognizable triangular shape, but we're going to keep going. This would look even worse if I hadn't already traced the circles down in graphite. Oh, come on. Alright, so now we have the seed of life. And we see that we have hexagonal shape here, and now we have a hexagonal shape here, right? We've got 6 little points. This is the feminine shape. Now, if I did another layer, or another 2 layers, I'd get the flower of life. And if I keep going, so I'm gonna color in book, we get Metatron's cube. So we see where this pattern goes, right? Now I have rays coming off. And it's cubic. So this is the basic structure of the universe, and we can represent it this way or we can represent it this way. And this is something... Now, essentially, Metatron's cube, the built-up version, multiple layers. If I were to draw that with these masculine lines, I'd get the 64 tetrahedron grid that Nassim Haramein talks about. Now, if you don't know who Nassim Haramein is, he is, I guess, the founder of the Resonance Science Foundation. They also have a Resonance Academy. So we're going to stick a pin in Nassim for a second. You might have seen the flower of life shape as a sphere. Oh, I didn't mean to hit the camera. And you may have seen it underneath the paw. Just sort of a representation of these guardian lions in Chinese sculpture. And sometimes they're called foo dogs, and I might pronounce this wrong, but I believe the name for them is shishi. At least that's how I read it on Wikipedia. So we have the flat representation, but then what's really happening is this is happening in 3D space. So instead of just a circle, I don't have anything that's, well, you would have some kind of three-dimensional shape. But this is it, like everything in the universe is filling out this pattern, all the energy, all the mass, all the material. So what Nassim Haramein had done is, oh, look at the small one, had to do with finding out that the smallest distance between any 2 points in the universe, like the tiniest fractal distance that we can possibly get between any of these like different fractal iterations of these, all with the same pattern, right? Just add more circles. So we just, like this distance is like the circle in the middle, and then this distance, the next one, would be, should look more like phi, right? So the first distance, and then we have the fractal next one up, right? Should be phi. All right, so we have the circle, and then we have the next layer, which is this. Okay, so the smallest distance, the point to point, or just the circle itself, is the Planck length, right? From the guy, I don't remember his first name, it's been a while since I had physics in high school. So Planck, the scientist. And so what Nassim did is that he looked at the structure, the geometry, and the Planck length, and he was able to accurately predict the radius of a proton. Now, what's also been found, or that he discovered, or somebody discovered, is that, say this whole thing here, if this is a proton, that there's basically an infinite number of wormholes attaching it to every single other proton in the universe. Or if you don't want to use protons, you can say photons. Either way, it doesn't matter. An infinite number of wormholes connecting it to every other proton in the universe, right? It's all holographic, they're all talking to each other at the same time, like every second of every moment ever. And this is where you get like spooky action at a distance, right? When one twin gets hurt and the other one cries. You know, like you only know 2 out of 3 information of an electron at any point, right? You can know like where it is and maybe where it's going, but you can't tell how fast it's going. You know where it's going and how fast it's going, but you can't tell like where it is now or how big it is. Right? There's always this sort of uncertainty because like any information coming in could send it in a different direction. There's a constant feedback loop. Everything is in flux. It's sort of the in Michael Crichton's book Timeline, what they would call essentially a quantum foam. It's a probability field, and the graph sort of looks like this, like a 3-dimensional graph. So this is really just, you know, a little bit of sauce on triangles, and how circles are the backbone of everything in the universe. But really, it's down to the triangle. And also, if you notice, the tetrahedron is the smallest wait, my brain lost the word. The smallest polyhedron that you can get. Right? It's the smallest, it's the most compact, it's the most crushed, it's the most stable. Until you interlock two of them together, and then you have even more structure, because now you're going in every direction. And then you get 64 of them all tied together, and you get that Metatron's cube action going, and you can create any shape you want, any direction you want. So that's what's going on there. Alright. And I have another part for this video, and we're going to do that in just a second. Okay, so recently I had a post on Twitter that I saw where somebody was asking about some symbols. One of them was like that on their stained glass doors of the house that they bought or whatever. And someone was like, oh, they look like alchemical symbols. And I was like, wait a minute, it looks like angelic script. When I went and looked in my dictionary of angels, and I'm like, well, that doesn't look like those. And then I was Googling some alchemical symbols, and it wasn't an exact match. But what I noticed when I was looking at the angelic script, or something, let me get... Oh, that's already wrong. Tell me I haven't drawn these yet without telling me I haven't drawn them yet. That's still not right. Okay, so now I'm gonna get it. Okay. I probably should have drawn that on the paper and pencil before trying to do it, because I don't screwed it up. So we see this is... It says Alphabet Malachim, dit Écriture des Anges ou Royale. So that's in French. So it's... Malachim sounds malicious, but it says Writing of Angels, or it's called Royale. So this here, it says this is Aleph. Let me do a different one. Oh, come on. That's not supposed to have a squiggle in it. That's just because the page moved, because I'm holding the book with the other hand. Alright. So here's another one. This one is Beth. Oh, let me get one more. Oh, let's just do this one, because we already did triangles today. This one says, it's supposed to be in the center. This one says it's Koof. Alright. So I was looking at these, and says to myself, these look like electrical circuits. And I remember from when I had physics in high school, it was like electrical circuits with stuff going on. This is probably dangerous, but anyway, some kind of electrical circuit, right? And I said to myself, these look really similar. And they have these toy electrical circuit kits that you can get for kids. And my brother had one, and then he got like another one from somebody else the same year for Christmas when we were like in middle school or something. And I remember from when he was doing it, there's, you know, a certain wire thing you can do on the board that'll make it chirp. And I said, well, if this is Angelic script, what does that sound like? And what are we doing when we see crop circles? What do those sound like? Let me see. Okay. So we come in here. These are just one letter. So we come in here and it says the seals of the 7 archangels. So we're looking at these. Like, these look even more electrical than the letters, than these other things. So we're looking at... let's do the seal of Aratron the Alchemist, who commanded 17,640,000 spirits. That's a lot of voltage. Look at this. Okay, look. Okay, what the hell? Ooh, I just discovered something I hadn't thought of before I started doing this. Let me get this book over here. Okay, so we're gonna draw the seal of Aratron the Alchemist. So we have a thing here. This looks kind of like the Ark of the Covenant, which was conductive. Just drop one of my rocks. Okay, so let's go up in the middle and here. It reminds me of cathode ray tubes. And then this has like that. Okay, so that's what that one looks like. So this is Aratron. And we have 17,640,000 hertz? Volts? Amps? And then we have, so I'll draw over this other, what the hell is the, whatever, I'm just going to draw over that. So I only got one sheet of paper. Alright, so we're doing the seal of, you probably, yeah, there goes the other rock. Okay, so we have the seal of Bethor. This reminds me of the so it's kind of messed up in the little drawing. I didn't leave enough space. It's not as elegant as the one in the book. This has, it's also drawn weird. It's got like a little twisty thing here. It's not exactly straight. So that's interesting. It reminds me of the copper clip that's on the back of the door in the shaft of the Great Pyramid. I can't remember the name of the guy that sent the little robot up there. But the in the shaft, they got the little door, and it had like copper thing hooks. I'm gonna draw this with the marker so you can see it. Alright, so in the shaft of the Great Pyramid, they have a little door, and then they had these little copper hooks hanging off of them. Some of them were like corroded and they came off. But once the second time they went up there, they drilled a hole in the back of the door, and they found this like L-shaped little fucking thing. And on the back of the door, it was like kind of, it was, the copper clip was kind of like this, which reminds me of that. You know, like when you were in elementary school, the teacher would make like a million things out of oak tag, and there'd be like a little brass clip in there to hold it, and then on the other side it would press out. Like when you do a manila envelope, there's the, with the manila envelope, right? So the back side of the clip, and it goes up, and then when it comes through, it comes down. That's what that looks like. Anyway, this is my printed out charms if you want some of them. I've got a couple that are already printed out. So this is what that looks like. It looks like electrical. All right, so this guy, 17,640,000 spirits for Aratron. Or Aratron. And this is the seal of Bethor, who has, even though the thing looks a little more complicated, maybe because this is like a small microchip and this is a big honkin' box, 29,000 legions of spirits. Isn't a legion, how much is in a legion? Is a legion 20,000 people? 29 times 20,000 maybe. That might be more than that. I don't know. I'd have to do the math, but I don't feel like it right now. Again, legions of spirits. So we make hertz, volts, amps. We're not quite sure what the unit is. But these angelic writing and these seals of the angels look like electrical grids. So we go the seal of Och, the alchemist, apparently Scottish, physician and magician. So his is looking kind of like these ones down here. We have this. Oh, this makes me think of a magnetron, which looks a little bit more like the flower of life than anything else. I think a magnetron is usually... A magnetron might look something more like this. Okay, so I went on Facebook because we're friends for some reason. I went and asked on one of his posts. I asked Michael Lee Hill because he's been on some shows in the sort of like alternative community, UFO community, occult community, and I was like, hey, do you know if anyone has done electrical experiments with these symbols? And he said he hadn't heard of anybody because he knows like a lot of people and is like mildly famous in some circles. And someone in the comments said, oh, you should ask Maria Wheatley, and I haven't tried to find a contact yet. And then I asked a couple people on Twitter, and they haven't responded yet, but they're like slightly famous and have stuff to do. So, and because I can't afford to, like, the $50 to get one of those kits or one of those, like, silver electrical drawing circuit kits, I'm sort of at an impasse, and I don't know if anyone's actually done this yet. So if you have electrical knowledge, or you know of someone who's already doing this, or you want to like yell at people who are like doing UFO community stuff and are like popular and shit, you know, have them like flag them down and ask them about this, because I want to know, because a lot of the crop circles look like electrical grids too, and I want to see what happens if somebody builds these. And again, this looks kind of like the Ark of the Covenant up here, that one. So, I want to find out what it does. I want to find out what it says. I want to find out if it's a hologram, like, help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope kind of stuff. And I want to find out what these little Y things are. Like, what does it do? What does it look like? Are you going to explode something? Are you going to burn down your house? Are you going to light yourself on fire? Like, what happens? So, if anyone knows any more about it or wants to try it out and get back to me, I'm sort of interested, but I don't have the finances or the bandwidth to add another project to my increasing stack right now. So, in the meantime, I'm just going to talk about it, and hopefully somebody with a little bit more time or knowledge can work on it, and you know, if no one else has thought of it yet, at least, you know, give me a little shout out for yelling at people about doing it. Okay, so that's it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, check out my playlists, tab, and stay groovy, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Cat the Minion energy work is focused on building a community around creativity and connectivity. Connect to new friends, the universe, and yourself. Shift your perspective of everyday life. Alleviate the stresses of daily life by tapping into self-expression. Help me build my offerings around your needs by investing, interacting, and brainstorming new things we can do. Your financial contributions via donations, purchases of goods and services, and participation on Patreon allow me to pay mundane bills, upgrade to better interactive services and equipment, and to buy art supplies and materials. Additionally, your support helps me pay it forward to charities, other energy workers, and artists, and to gain more visibility so our community can reach even more who need it. You can find a number of the goods and services I offer by clicking the links from my website, cattheminion.wordpress.com, or from my link tree, depending on your preference, linktr.ee/cattheminion. I'm offering original art pieces, digital downloads, art prints, merch, tarot readings, divination tools, templates, coloring books, a dark poetry book, YouTube content, self-care encouragement, and more.